Hi, how is everybody today? So the funny thing is I wanted to do this as my second art poetry video for you all to follow along as I pull a card, once a day, once a week, once a month, however I may feel. And the card that I had pulled yesterday before I was going to record a YouTube video was this card here, Gather Inspiration When It Finds You. And this is a painting I had done a couple years ago, and I titled the painting Nighttime Gatherings. And I'll talk a little bit about the title, and I do want to paint this style with you during the video today. But what I wanted to say is yesterday I just didn't get around to doing a video. I just didn't feel it. And I only do videos when I really want to, when I really feel like I have something to say or I want to share, or I feel like it supports me as an artist in my practice. So I've been doing a lot of brainstorming and thinking, and the funny thing was this morning when I went to pull a card for myself, so just to give you a little bit of background with my art poetry deck, I created this deck primarily for myself, but I love that it's available for anybody that feels like it may resonate with them. So it has become something that I have published. Although I feel like the deck, because I did it for myself, I like the idea of doing a video playlist where you all can kind of follow along my journey as I pull a card randomly. We go through the 71 cards, within I don't know how many months or the year, and we talk about it and we get inspired and we paint, and I love that because it provides some structure for my videos. And I wanted to say that before I do videos of me pulling a card, I always have that morning routine where I wake up and I pull a card for myself. And this was the card that, again, I had pulled yesterday and I really wanted to use for the video, but it just wasn't right. And wouldn't you know, I shuffled the deck really well today, and I thought I'm going to pull a card just for myself before I do the video and let it speak to me, reflect on it, and then I'm going to record my video and pull another card with you all. So that's kind of my practice, and wouldn't you know, I pulled the same card. And it's really funny because I wanted to speak to you about this card. And the other thing is, a lot of you who've been following me, I don't edit my videos. So everything I do is unedited, probably slightly filtered. I am very mindful about the words, the vocabulary I use. But this card, Gather Inspiration When It Finds You, is really about me, everything I do as an artist, which is practicing stillness and staying in the moment. And I paint for myself for the process. And any planning, whether it's planning for, well, anything really, but especially like social media and videos, it just does not resonate with why I paint and who I am. And I really love this card because it's saying gather inspiration when it finds you. And inspiration is overflowing into me all the time. There are those days, of course, where I just don't feel as inspired. But I think I've trained myself to feel inspired, and when the inspiration finds me, I do gather it and I take note of it. I record it. I do voice memos if it's ideas that I've had when I wake up really early in the morning. I take around a little kind of notepad and I make illustrations, when I'm out and about on the go. If I'm at a function where, say, my son is at, gymnastics or something, that is where some of my best work has found me. It's when I just kind of turn off and I grab my art journal or some paper, and I have just a few supplies. And believe it or not, that's where this painting was born, which was when I was on the move and I was out and about, and I had really pulled this painting together so easily because I just didn't have to think about it. And there's so much, again, that I want to say. I wanted to share that I embellished this card. So for those of you that follow me and my work, I do a lot of embellished prints, canvas prints and giclée, also known as fine art prints. and I love the idea of embellishing them, which means, you know, making them look a bit fancier with paints. I have a little example actually right here. This is a canvas print of a painting that's going to be part of my new collection titled As We Cloud Our Vision. And you can just see that bronze paint pen that I've added here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to embellish this with like a really nice thick acrylic paint that kind of matches. So that's what embellishment is. And I had such a laugh because I'm just constantly inspired that with this card and doing a video with you all a couple days ago, I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool to embellish these? And so I have done it, and it looks so neat. I used a water-based Sharpie paint pen. I don't know if I recommend these Sharpie paint pens anymore. I feel like the recipe has changed. I've recently bought a couple here in Canada, and they just aren't made as nicely. I actually can tell this is an old one based by the feeling of the paper they used to wrap the pen. So, you know, I am hesitant to recommend supplies just because it's sort of out of my control as to follow up on them if they're not great quality, because the quality is changing. This one was made in Japan. Please note it is water-based, so I am very familiar with the water-based medium point acrylic paint pens, and don't get it confused with the oil-based Sharpie paint pen, which looks identical in the packaging, and they always at the shops have them right next to each other. So just a little tip. And while I put this down, you'll note that I am putting it down horizontally and not vertically. And if you put these pens vertically, I don't know if this is true, but there's that little cartridge in the middle, and when we shake the pen, it moves around the acrylic paint and it dampens that cartridge. And if we store them vertically, unfortunately, that cartridge dries out and it's really hard to activate the pen when you go to use it. So, you know, just be mindful about that. There is a really good kind of tips on how to store and how to use paint pens on the Posca website. So the Japanese paint pen Posca, I have a little example right here. These, again, are not always being created equal. I think depending where you are in the world, if it's in a really hot or cold climate, sitting in a mailbox or a post box, it may change consistency. But Posca has some great tips on their website as far as how to keep these stored properly and how to use them. There's a lot of uses for these pens. So again, they're water-based acrylic paint pens, and I'm already inspired to tell you about art supplies, and I'm going to go back to my art deck. And I also wanted to do a little exercise with you all that has helped me in my creative practice. So I'm gathering the inspiration when it finds me, which is unedited in this video right now here with you all. I'm just going to set this aside for a second and we'll go back to it because I think I'd like to paint that with you today, that same composition. And I used watercolors, and after that base layer was dry, I went back and I added in the line work and mixed media elements and just use what supplies you have, because really the techniques I use, it's my own style, but it can be really basic in terms of breaking it down into grabbing some watercolors that you love, the colors that you love, grab a paintbrush that you want to learn how to play with, and a few mixed media supplies. Even if you just have, say, a pencil from, you know, an HB pencil from old school days, or a dollar store permanent pen, a Sharpie pen, you know, whatever you have, that can be a way of kind of learning my style. And then if you resonate with this style, you can always purchase supplies that might be higher quality, and, you know, as you find your own style in the long run. And what I wanted to do, instead of me just talking and you staring at a blank page, a blank dollar store countertop, isn't that awesome? I've already kind of made it quite messy, so it's no longer my photography background. And I just want to see if I need to zoom you. Oh, I'll zoom you out a little bit. I wanted to do some mind mapping today for myself, and I thought I would bring you with me on that journey. I've talked a little bit about mind mapping, but I had made some notes and I'm just going to kind of refer to them to really make sure I get out what I want to say. Especially, so I have a lot of new subscribers here on my channel, and I just wanted to sort of speak to my art and my artist style, my teaching style, and ultimately why I do these painting videos. So as I've already mentioned, I don't edit my videos at all. That doesn't mean I don't turn the camera on and off again for the first 10 minutes just because I feel like I can't quite get started. I have to tell you that's something I'm working on. Today I probably spent 5 minutes figuring out how to say hello. And I have such a laugh because depending on which artist I'm following, I almost emulate the way that artist speaks to their audience. So I'm just really learning how to feel authentic and be myself. And the more videos I do, the better I get. And I love all the feedback from everybody. Here you're looking at a couple art journals. This one I flipped through pretty quick. I wanted to talk about how my journey started and I guess really tell you how I got to this place of doing a YouTube channel, because if you'd asked me even a year ago, I would say, what, YouTube? Like, is that really a good platform? Is it something that people, actually use? I did not realize how much is on here until I started to do these videos, and I was just recording for some relatives that were going to be at a very remote little cottage that just got access to Wi-Fi on the East Coast, and I said I'd do a couple videos and get you started because they really wanted to learn watercolor, and that is how this was born. And I realized when I sit down to do videos and talk to you all and look at my work, which is in front of me, I get out of my head and it reminds me of my why, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. So right now it's going to be a fair bit of talking. So I'm just going to flip through some of my art journals and show you how far I've come. So this is one of my more recent art journals from June of 2023. And I use so many different supplies in here. So I'll just let you look at this for a moment and I'll slowly kind of flip through as I talk. I am somebody that likes to multitask, and I recognize that is part of our culture, and I want to get out of that for myself. But I do know a lot of you don't have a lot of time, and there might be those of you that, like me, just want to put my video on and have it on in the background and be working on other things, and I really support that. And I also want to say that since I have practiced being more present and focusing on just one task at a time, I feel way more relaxed and my brain is more clear. And I have started waking up in the morning and obviously getting the necessities done. I have a busy family life, but once those necessities are out of the way, because art is my full-time business, what I do is I think about, okay, what is just one thing I can do today? Obviously for my health, with a nursing background, I want to think about what can I do to benefit my health today, but also from a creative standpoint, what do I want to do today that will take me one step towards whether it's a goal or my creative, practice. I call it a practice because I practice every day. It's sort of like meditative for me. And so that process of getting up in the morning and really just zeroing in on what has inspired me lately, what do I want to do today? Am I working towards a business goal, or am I just wanting to have that rest break where I paint? So time is so precious, and ever since I started prioritizing just that one thing that I wanted to do during the day, just that small thing that would take, whether it's half an hour, 2 hours, what do I want to get done before all of those other responsibilities come up? Because no matter whether we have family or not, or busy work lives, or whether we're retired, the days are still very busy and it can be hard to fit in because there's always other things to do. Looking at this page, I was really inspired by pansies at the time. So this was June 30th of this year, and I started this background and I haven't finished it, and that's okay, because in the winter I may go back to it and want to add to it. I may want to go back to it next year or in 2 years, but it is what I needed at that moment. Same with this one. This is not finished, but in the moment I wanted to do this sunrise. I'm going to kind of show you, these are sort of unfinished, just backgrounds where I've just played. So what I want to kind of talk to you about is why I'm doing this channel. There is a huge part of my artist why. I want to share my passion. I'm very prolific. I want to share that with everybody who feels that they might not be able to fit art into their life, because it's so manageable if you prioritize it. Prioritizing it like a workout or eating healthy, or just doing it for yourself. So remembering that creativity is important, it is valuable. Like, how amazing is it that we can paint something and put it out into the world and share that and maybe inspire just one other person? It's like the most amazing thing in my mind. Here's another page I really love. I have finished this one, and just to go back to what I was saying, so my why is also, as I've mentioned, I paint for myself. I started painting when I was going through some health challenges, both prior to pregnancy and during pregnancy. I also experienced a lot of loss while I was working on family planning, and that was really hard for me. And I was still working as an RN full-time, a really busy job, desk job primarily. Even though I was a nurse, I worked in education and health coaching, and it was a lot of sitting, and it was in a little office with no windows. And I loved the open door policy, but I felt like I lived there, but I worked there in a very quiet hallway, and I just did not see that many people. We were all so busy. So art became my outlet and my passion and my escape. And it's not until recently I realized that I escape the noise of the outside world through art. I escape the electronics. I do love listening to music, but sometimes I like to just turn it off and have quiet. And that was the reason I actually titled this piece that represents my oracle deck. This card I had titled Quiet. I feel like the reason I leave so much blank space in my work is, again, because I need that resting space. I need that quiet place to almost bring out what's going on with everything else, all the colors, all the marks, to emphasize it. And so a lot of my work is very much that blank space. I paint to prioritize my mental health. So for me, it's a constant battle. I mean, I chase dopamine, I chase serotonin. That's why I'm so prolific. And I think doing these videos keeps me a bit in check, because I'm accountable to myself, and I don't know how else to say that, but blank space is a huge part of my work, as well as I have read The Artist Way so many times. Well, I haven't gotten through it. I know the importance of those morning pages and writing, and I know how much it's benefited people, but I'm just not there yet. So for me, I paint in color and marks, and I'm slowly adding words, which I feel like is very beneficial. I have a hard time expressing myself, my emotions, and art is my way of not only escaping the loud outside world, it's also how I find calm, tranquility, peace, hope, joy. And I sometimes go as far as writing on my art a reminder that I want if I was to have the art in my home. So whenever I would finish a piece, it was about the process of me painting it. For me, my journey as an artist is all about the process. and I need those reminders. This one I painted in 2020, so obviously remember your breath. Everything that went on with the pandemic and COVID, obviously it affected our lungs and breathing. And I know for myself, sometimes when I'm painting or doing things during the day, I forget to breathe. I needed that reminder on here. So that is where some of my words fit in. My titles are also based on my relationship with creativity. And I just wanted to be able to share the joy, the colors, I guess, the calm place I am when I paint. I want people to feel that when they see my work. So that is a lot about my art poetry art deck. And I suppose why I created it was for myself, to have this body of work that meant so much to me, and then hoping that if it resonated with someone else. I just got a really lovely email from someone saying that this card was picked by a friend that they had gifted the deck to, and they were going through a lot of stuff. They didn't get into details, but they said that this card, forgive, accept, and move forward, was just what they needed in that moment when they pulled the card. And that just makes me so happy. And I think of the power in art to connect us all. And this card actually, I really want to embellish it right now because the moon is bugging me. It needs to be a lot more gold. So I'm going to do that right now with my gold paint pen and just go on and add that beauty and that shimmer to the card. Sometimes the paint pools in the middle, so I'm just going to move it around. I'm going to set that aside to dry. But this one, Elevate, I feel like, again, the mind mapping, for myself, like we all evolve so much as humans and artists, and I think it's important to elevate our practice, whatever that may be, and really constantly reflect on what we're doing and why we're doing it. We all have this fight against time, or I think most of us do because it's part of our culture. It's not our fault. It is just that we all are kind of racing against the clock. And if what we're doing is not meaningful to us as artists, then, or, as humans, if what we're doing is not making us better humans, then why are we doing it? So doing these videos, every day I have to think, okay, am I doing this video for myself? Or am I doing it for my why, my artist why? Or if it's not going to benefit me, I'm not going to do the video. And that's hard. My art has become a business. So I was talking about this a little bit in my other video, but just knowing when you're losing yourself because, say, as a full-time artist, it's awesome to finally be paid for, say, videos or, people buying your art or, getting that positive feedback just in, likes or comments. And this world we live in, ultimately, what is important? We have to constantly remind ourselves what is important to us. And for me, it's family and friends and nourishing those relationships and trying to listen to the universe and really hone in on what I need in the moment. So again, I think what I want to say here is, right now I'm looking at these journals as far as these fairly recent art journals. I really love this one. Do you believe in magic? Again, it's just like expressing myself in colors and words and marks. And I just love this palette, actually. I don't use a lot of these colors together. But I'm going to go back to my little cheat sheet. So I wanted to talk about how I can hopefully support you while still enjoying my videos. So if my work resonates with you, obviously, I hope that you will learn a bit from me during these videos and be inspired in your own practice. I am absolutely fine with people copying. I always love it if people tag me, but don't stress if you can't tag me or you didn't tag me. I often don't see some of those tags because I have a fairly large following and I've been getting inundated with emails. So I feel like, you know, if you can comment under this YouTube video, that's most helpful because I can kind of remember what I spoke about in the video and I can answer that best for everybody. And it also gets the video shown, which does help me get my passion out there. So that's just a little word for people who are watching my videos for the art practice, for the learning, for the tips and tricks. And I also wanted to say, because I have really only been an artist for probably since, well, December of 2019, so pretty much right before 2020 is when I first started my painting, selling my paintings for money off of Instagram. And that was only 3 years ago, which is crazy in my mind. But I also feel really confident that you can get there if that's what you're watching my videos for. I do like to talk about how I'm very prolific and how I have kind of elevated my business to a new level. And it has to be that you absolutely love the process, you love the practice. So that's really important to keep in mind. I will talk about how you can find your own style. And so, you know, try and stick with me if you're looking to find your own style, because while I am painting with you, a lot of what I'm teaching can be applied to different mediums, different styles, and we're just trying on different styles, and that's how we find what works, just like trying on different clothes. This one I'm looking at, I absolutely love this background. This is just a background. I'm going to go back to it when I feel like it and make do mark making and maybe words, but it's also just beautiful as is. I loved that process of it. So I don't force myself to finish it if I don't want to. It has to be what I feel in the moment. I paint primarily for relaxation. If I've had a busy day or throughout my day, I just love painting. Whoops, I just lost some cards over the edge. That's okay. And I just love the way it takes me to this dream world, this hard to explain meditative state. It's like a different place in my consciousness, subconscious. I don't know how to say that. And the colors just make me happy. And I feel almost like there's this tranquility. So you can get that in your work too. It's just through practice and taking that pressure off of yourself for it to be anything. So just go with those color craving exercises and really, again, gather that inspiration. I think that was the card that fell over, my gather the inspiration card. Gather it when it finds you and, you know, just make note of it. What was it that inspired you? Was it a color? Was it something someone was wearing? Was it a bird that you hadn't seen for a while and the seasons were changing? Was it, you know, on vacation, somebody else's garden, or maybe a beautiful food dish out of a different culture? This actually background I had done in gouache, watercolor, and acrylic. So I like to mix up the mediums. The acrylic gives it more texture over top of the layered watercolor. And I have a photo of the inspiration, which was, I was out for a walk in the neighborhood and my neighbor had this beautiful pot of, I don't even know what the plants were, what the flowers were, but it was this mixture of what looked like almost tropical plants and it was all of these colors. And that evening, I just was so inspired that I put the colors down and I wanted to finish it, but then the next day I just didn't feel it. On day 3, I walked by the neighborhood again because I thought I just want to like make sure I got those colors down before those flowers get put away for the season, or, you know, before they die. And I haven't finished it because I haven't felt like it, but that was the inspiration. And because I gathered it in that moment, well, it was fresh in my mind, I got it out. So instead of saying, oh, that would be a beautiful, taking it to another level, because the first level of gathering inspiration is taking the photo. Maybe to take a step back, it was going for a walk. So I went for the walk, I saw something, and I allowed myself to realize, wow, that's really beautiful. I took the time to appreciate it. And then I took the photo, which is awesome. And instead of the photo just going into the thousands of photos that I have and are all mixed up and disorganized, that's something I'm learning as an artist, that I need more space on my phone and computer. But that photo was acted on in the evening because I just wanted to get it out. Something was calling me to get those colors down. And looking at this makes me so happy. So just a little bit about acting on inspiration. So I hope you're here again to, if my style resonates with you, I think that's amazing. I feel honored, and I hope that you can learn some tips and tricks from me and be inspired. I also hope that my videos you find relaxing. I've been told that they are relaxing, which makes me really happy and kind of surprised, because I do tend to run on the anxious side. But right now I'm just so calm because I am thinking, looking at art, I'm surrounded by supplies. This is my happy place. And I'm constantly coming up with new ideas as I talk to you. I do want to help you find your own style, so that's something I will kind of speak to in my videos of how you can get there. I've been thinking about how I want to rebrand myself and what makes me unique, what makes me stand out. Maybe there's so many other people that can actually paint like me, get really close to my work. What is it that makes me unique as an artist? And the process and how I do it and why I do it is what makes me stand out and so unique. And how can I pull that into, how can I take that further? So I think about a week ago, I was thinking about how I have gone from a nurse to an artist, and I've been thinking about website ideas, and wouldn't it be cool to have this? I have not done cardiology for ages, but having an ECG line, electrocardiography, an electrocardiogram, go into the way the signature is. And I thought, well, that's really cool, because I did do a student placement in cardiology and spent a lot of time reading ECGs, and that makes me unique, that I had this nursing background and I was coaching people in health coaching around chronic illness, diabetes, osteoporosis, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, how to have a healthy lifestyle. And I want to pull in some of that coaching and use what has helped me in my life and my art business, and in hopes it might help you. I am prolific, so this is a great way to kind of learn how to be more prolific, is just, again, I hope to share that. And I'm just seeing if there's anything I missed. Again, I don't like to have scripts, but I just wanted to make sure when I was brainstorming, what is it that I can support you with, because I'm doing these videos for myself, because I don't edit them, what can I give back? And I want to be able to give back through these videos. I feel like I've hit on everything. Turning my, what was my art therapy into a business. If some of you are watching and you think, wow, in 3 years, like, I would love to be in that place where I'm selling my work and I'm teaching on YouTube, and and I hope to be able to share those tips and tricks on how I did it, because it's so doable if you have that drive, that passion, that dedication. And I think it's time to paint now. But because I've just done a quick flip through of some of my art journals, I just wanted to say I'm still looking for an art journal I love. I'm still going back and finishing some that I had purchased and I just have not finished, and that will take a while. I love this brand by Speedball, which I had found recently because it's a non-leather cover, and I believe it's handmade. It's called Handbook Journal Co. and by Speedball Art Products. So this is one I feel fairly confident in recommending. You can see I'm also trying out Beam Paints, which is another Canadian company. I've been just trying out some new watercolors, and I want to show you how far I've come. So those are art journals that I'm working in. I'm just going to pull that out. You know, I started, so this is an example. This is all kind of falling apart. Cats. This was a thrift store surfing book, and my brother had given it to me for my birthday. We like to gift each other thrift store items. It's kind of fun. And this is where I started. So like this front page, I basically put down washi tape, and you can see I was using stamps and cutouts, those paper cutouts, and just plain. And I was writing words about what pens I was using. This is 2018. So here I am now as a full-time artist who has been in galleries, is now selling my work all over the world, doing YouTube. You know, I have that following on Instagram, and I just think it was not that long ago that I was just in a place of my health wasn't great, my mental health needed an outlet, an escape, and this was it. And it got me out of it. And I hope I will have art forever and live forever. I live forever. I was watching that documentary, Live to 100. I think that's what it's called, on Netflix in the last couple days. And it's been great because it's made me get out my green tea and really try to zero in on, you know, eating more vegetables. And yeah, but this is where I was. Like, think of just where I am now compared to where, you know, here I have this beautiful oracle deck of work that I feel like is my own style. And back in 2018, I was a new mom, and I just, during my son's nap windows, which I would take that full, thank goodness he was a good napper, 2 hours, and I would get out my supplies, and even if I just took a half an hour, I would just paint. I would play with textures and washi tape and acrylic paint. This is still beautiful, even though it has the words beautiful over here with washi tape. I still really love this page, but there's pages in here which I feel like are quite, well, I would say like unattractive, but it was just part of my process. And I was cutting out, I think I like that article about Lily Allen. I don't even remember what it was about, but this was a napkin by Jane Davenport. Just playing, not caring, practicing, putting gesso down so I could paint over it. And yeah, so this is where I was. And I also, if I had purchased a really nice art journal, I just was not in a place where I was finishing them. So I would buy an art journal, and this one I wanted to play around with the black background. Again, very commercial. Start each day with a grateful heart. This looks like my little dog Oakley, best friend. Today's going to be a great day. And this was actually in 2015. So this was when I didn't even realize. So 2015 was probably when I started. I was going through IVF at the time, I believe. No, 2015. It was 2015. Very stressful job at the time. So I had purchased this. I mean, this is where it all started. And again, not that long ago, but I never finished this. I started to do different acrylic styles, but nothing is finished. So now I know I have the confidence to go back and to finish these pages. and to use this book in a way I never thought I would. And it's all about, I think, not putting that pressure on yourself if it's not turning out the way you wanted it. I think that's why I abandoned this art journal spread, is it wasn't turning out the way I wanted, but I could just paint over it. This is a beautiful start, and now I just see it really in a whole new perspective. So let's just get to it. I'm gonna have to dive under my desk and grab my cards. Oh, and it wasn't, I don't see, oh, there it is. Whew. Here it is. Gather inspiration when it finds you. So again, this painting I had sold and I had made a print of it, and here it is on my Oracle deck card. Gather inspiration when it finds you. So let's just use this card, and I'm gonna get out some of my paints and just start the background. I'm gonna grab some water. This is 140-pound paper. Oh, actually, I don't want to paint in this one because this one, I don't like the texture of this. How did that happen? Okay, whoops. I'm gonna break out this beautiful, ooh, that's pretty. I haven't seen that in a while. There's that packing tape to kind of go over a place that I don't like. It'd be fun to go back to these sometime. Okay, so I'm just gonna start on a new page, and I'm going to activate my watercolors. I'm definitely gonna use a Payne's gray or like a black mixed with blue, navy, but you can use just a dark color if you want to follow along with me. This is not to replicate the painting, it's just to be inspired by it. And so we're not going to talk about colors. We're just gonna, you know, you can just use whatever colors you want and think of this as like a little study of sorts. So I'm going to use my round watercolor brush. This is well loved. This one I got for free quite a while ago. It was by Whole Bean, and I've used it so much I've worn off the name. And I always wet my brush when I start. And I'm just gonna see if you guys, nope, we're gonna zero you out that way. And I'm just gonna put this here. And I'm just gonna start painting. So I often start with the darks, which is a little bit counterintuitive, and I can't even remember what color I used, so I'm just going with a dark blue, and I'm really enjoying this kind of cradled composition, and that's where I got the title called Gathering. So I'm just scrubbing this in, and I'm not caring if it looks like the original painting. So I'm adding in that blue, and I've repeated the blue and that blue cloud up there. I've extended it up, and I can also, I have a bit of washi tape on here. I can also get that color onto a new painting as to not waste it. I'm gonna get out my rag, and I'm going to go in with the next color that's kind of taking over, which I would say is actually this gorgeous fuchsia, or I could go into the gray because I probably have a bit of blue on my brush still. I'm gonna go with the turquoise actually. So there's a really pretty turquoise in there, and I have a new set of Kuretake paints. Thank you, Kathy, for notifying me these were available on Amazon. I don't know if they are anymore. This Kuretake Art Nouveau set. I'm gonna dip into that turquoise. I've put quite a bit on my brush, but again, we're not trying to get super close, because the more you can paint intuitively, the better your painting turns out. So the more you try to control the painting, it just does not work. At least for me, it doesn't, even if it's my own style, even if I'm trying to paint something that was mine. I'm gonna go back, I'll show you this Art Nouveau set. I'm gonna go back in, see my colors get a bit mixed up and I don't care. And this gray is not quite as dark as I'd like, but that's okay. This is gonna be a slightly different painting with just a unique composition. And you could drip that if you wanted. I might just leave it as is. And I like how I'm actually gonna pull some of that gray I have on my brush and just kind of, I like how I got some of that texture right underneath there with that line work. And I might just darken it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna get that beautiful fuchsia color, which is a very hard color to get. I think my Ocean Paper watercolor set. Ocean Paper, I haven't heard back from them on my recent orders, so I love them. I love their watercolors, but I don't know what's going on there, so I'm not gonna recommend those at this time. That gorgeous fuchsia in there, and also down here. And then I brought in almost a mustard yellow, and this is the point where I can kind of decide, I can go off on my own. I've used the painting as inspiration, and now I can just let these colors speak to me because they're so different. So I'm putting down some of that mustard color in a couple different places. Kind of pulling on some of the colors here. And loving watching it all run together and just not trying to control it. I see I have a little bit of pigment in there, which is okay. I'm just gonna get that out though to have more of a flat texture. And if you've added too much paint in an area, you can always dab it up with your paper towel. I'm gonna go into, this is one of my favorite colors, this rose, and it is running out. So I'm gonna add in that, I'm gonna add in this peach. So if you're not liking what you're doing, try adding in your favorite color. And your favorite color is probably not my favorite color. So just go with your instinct in the moment. And I'm loving this. It's already a very different painting, and it will be really easy to go in and add the birds after and the moon, the white line work. And I used a water-soluble pencil crayon to get those lines. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really loose lines coming down. So we can do that now. And I can also, just gonna get some of this paint off my brush and onto the paper. So less waste, and it keeps your water clean. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a water-soluble pencil crayon in, what color do I want? Maybe that mustard color. So this is a Super Color Soft 2. I don't know if they sell these. This is a Neocolor Caran d'Ache product, a Swiss company. 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, really loosely. You can see I kind of was almost letting my hand, doing more, instead of defined, controlled work, wrist work, and I didn't want to get my palm into the wet paint. I sort of had a lot of pressure and went downward with the pencil. And I like how this part is a little bit more green, having that yellow and blue mixed together to make green. And there we go. We have this beautiful base of a painting, and yours probably doesn't look anything like mine, and that's great. You can decide what you love about it. And if you don't love it, you can, you know, maybe learn to love it by adding marks that you love over top. I am going to add just a tiny bit of a neon color from my, well, do I want, maybe I don't want to add neon, just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. You can see in this painting, this was actually a neon pink in here. And the only thing I have not added, which I really like, is metallics. So And over here, I'm also creating new palettes, determining what colors mix well together, what don't. It's all a study, right? And I'm loving this journal by Speedball, this handbook journal. And I feel like so inspired to finish this. So I'm gonna let it dry. You can use your water-soluble crayons and pencil crayons over top of this. So if I wanted, I could use my Neocolor Caran d'Ache 2 crayon. I'm just deciding what color. I really, really love this lime green color. So this is a Neocolor 2 lime green water soluble. So because of the 2, and it says aquarelle, so water soluble, and I'm just gonna dip it into my water and get it a little bit wet, and I'm just gonna add it, whoops, that's okay, add it in here and see what it does over top of the wet paint. If I don't like it, I can go back in with my watercolors. I think I don't love it, but I know that I can kind of bring it together in a way that I love it. It's almost like little green bushes in my gardens of the sky. So again, if you want more contrast, you can kind of wait to this point where it's almost dry, but it's got sort of some water, and you can darken it. So for myself, I really like contrast in my work. So you can add, you know, black can be a bit harsh. You know, there's definitely, maybe that's your style. Maybe people know you because you use black directly instead of mixing it. And in some of my acrylic paintings, I've done that. And, you know, there's no rules in art because you are in control of your own art and your own style. So there, we kind of, I just darkened it up because I think part of me, this painting, it's called Nighttime Gatherings, and I love the darkness, like the dark of the night. And I think of this as like a basket almost, or it looks like a bird with wings spread. I love this mysterious, I don't know how to explain this painting, but I just thought nighttime gatherings and gathering inspiration, those words just resonated so much. And nighttime gatherings, just how fun and festive they could be, and how important they are for our mental health, and how nighttime is a different time to create. The way we process things is different. Our neurochemistry, our hormones are different at night versus the daytime. Are you one of those people that paints in the middle of the night, or really late into the night, or early in the morning? Just some questions to ask yourself. And are you gathering inspiration when it finds you? So if you think about your day today, well, I mean, the fact that you're watching this video is pretty awesome, because obviously it supports me, but it is a way of you tapping into inspiration from an artist. You know, maybe you're new to my channel. Maybe you were searching for something and you weren't sure what, and you were inspired by something I've done in this video. I'm hoping so. And again, even if I inspired just one other person, that is ultimately my goal. So thank you for listening. And after this dries, I'm going to go back with my mark making supplies, maybe in a video with you all. And actually what I could do is just quickly shuffle this deck. And I think my little embellished moons are dry now. I'm just going to shuffle them, not properly, but that's okay. Just mix them up a little bit. And I'm going to cut the deck. And this is the card that we're gonna end off with today. And I love it. Practice gratitude every day. So this painting, It's funny, I just watched the movie Barbie not that long ago. It's very pink, and this was almost like a happy accident. I was using a huge sheet of heavy watercolor paper, and I'd put down pink acrylic inks, and then I used my spray bottle and I spritzed around it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy pink. It's wild. I don't love it, but I just kept working on it, and I used some water-soluble pencil crayons to do the marks, and I just kept playing around with it and playing with transparency, and it has become one of my favorite paintings and one of my best-selling prints, believe it or not, because I just see how pink it is. Although I've written with gratitude on here, and it makes me think how I am so grateful to have art as my escape and my outlet, and how I have a supportive family to support me through my art practice, because it's not always easy supporting an artist. And yeah, I am just grateful for not having a smoky sky today. I'm in Calgary and we have such a beautiful, sunny, cool day, and the forest fires, I don't think they're under control yet, but I just am grateful for the fresh air. So, what are you grateful for today? Even if it's just one small thing. And I'll also leave you with the thought, what is one thing you can do to either support your health or your art practice today? So, in this moment or in the next 24, 48 hours, what is just one thing that you think needs to happen to either feel better or move yourself in a direction that you've really been wanting to go? So it can be a really small step, but maybe I'll just leave it there. And as we go through the playlist of pulling a card, hopefully once a week at least, I want to do more. But again, I have to feel okay about that myself. So it really depends on where I'm at. But I'm going to add this to the Oracle deck playlist, and I'm grateful for you all watching and being here. And I look forward to seeing you soon.